Up, party people? This is your boy Hiroshima the Godfather, aka Hero, and this is my second Infinity Kingdom video for you guys today. And I thought with the new update, patch 1.8, what better way than to look at the new skills that has come into the Tower of Knowledge and give you my opinion on what I think about them and where they should go. A quickly brief description of each one. As you can see from level 40 to level 41 to 50, they have introduced a new skill or multiple skills that you can purchase with ability stones. Now, many people already with just the normal skills, like you see, I can't even purchase every single skill. Purple shards do come by hard to get, and the ability stones even harder. So I just want to help you guys make the right choices, and with your marches that you do have, be able to choose wisely and implement the skills properly from my opinion. Now, I could be wrong, but just reading from the descriptions, I'm going to give you what I think about them. Now, Guard is the first skill at level 36. It's a triggered skill. Every 10 seconds after the battle starts, guard one random allied friendly unit, cannot be stacked with assist, transferring all the damage received by this unit to you and reducing all damage you receive by 7.5 up to 25% for 6 seconds. This is a crucial skill. Now, the difference between this and assist is assist one random back row allied troop. This is one random troop. It could be in the front row, could be in the back row. If you're running assist on another support immortal in the back line, like Cyrus, Ditto, Zeno, this would be a great skill, I think, for Charles. He could help Alex receive less damage. He could help Zenobia. If you're running assist on Zenobia, it's transferring the damage from her onto him, reducing all the damage of 50%, 25 plus 25 from assist. If it's on Cleo, I don't know how that would work. So ultimately, I think if you're running assist somewhere else, this would be a perfect skill for Charles. Now, the next skill, Vitality Touch, is a triggered skill. After the battle starts, heal, recovery rate 78 up to 26%, 260% in an allied unit that currently lost the most troops. Increase that unit's defense by 10% for 18 seconds. I really don't see much benefit in this skill except outside of arena, where your marches are going through multiple fights. But even then, I wouldn't suggest spending ability stones for this skill quite yet. I think there's much better skills to come that we'll take a look at together that you can really use. Jade Barrier, passive skill. It reduces the magic damage received by you by 4.5 up to 15%. And when you receive magic damage, have a 30% chance to apply shields to 3 enemy allied units. Shields will absorb magical damage, not physical damage, magical damage. Absorption rate 90% up to 300%. Now, this would be crucial for a Caesar or Charles. First, Charles already has an absorption rate for all damage up to 400%. If you have this barrier, absorption of just the magical damage, now Charles's original shield of up to 400% will absorb just the physical damage, and this will absorb the magical damage, and as well as reduces the magical damage up to 15%. And Charles and Caesar have one of the lowest magical defenses in the game, and that will at least help the team cipher some of that magical damage that's put onto them. Now, another skill, Purification. It's a triggered skill. Every 3 seconds after the battle starts, removes all negative effects on a random friendly unit. If this unit does not have any negative effects, health will be recovered 18% up to 60% instead. This is an okay skill. I see it being a counter to the new Lightning Mage. But other than that, I really wouldn't put my ability stones and effort into this skill right away. I don't see it being a major skill. But it is a good counter to that Lightning Mage and could help your Earth March a little bit. Now, the next skill is one of my favorites, Spear Impale. Every 6 seconds after the battle starts, you have a 5% chance to impale an enemy directly in front of you to cause physical damage. Damage rate 97.5 up to 325, and increase the physical damage the enemy unit takes by 4.5% up to 15% for 3 seconds. Now, Alex, without his artifact, with his artifact, you can't have a triggered skill. Without this artifact, this would replace combo. With his artifact, if you're running Earth Main, I would put this for Peter. This would greatly increase the damage that Peter does, as well as killing the enemy quite faster. If you do have Alexander the Great, this won't be able to be applied to him, but if you don't have Alexander the Great's artifact, you could apply this and replace it over combo, or run both combo and this. That would really just terrorize the immortal that Alex is fighting. The next skill, Sniper, is a triggered skill. Every 6 seconds after the battle starts, you have a 55 chance to cause physical damage rate up to 112, up to 375% to the enemy that's the furthest to you. If the target's troop number is more than 50%, the damage is increased by 55%. I think this is a great skill for Yoshi. Reason being, Yoshi increases damage up to 50% for the immortals that have under 50% health. So this would basically run Yoshi doing high damage to immortals above 50% damage, and once they get under 50% damage, health, his skill would activate and deal double damage, and then he's able to really just take down the enemy team. Now, another skill that I love is Berserker. Not to get confused with, where is it? Berserk. Berserker increases physical damage by 30%, up to 100%. Oh, that's crazy. And attack damage, what I think they mean to say is attack speed. But reduced energy regen speed by 75%. You may no longer activate any triggered type skills. If you have the Alexander the Great artifact, it automatically makes his skill as a passive. There's no energy required. This would be the perfect synergy for Alexander the Great. I wouldn't recommend on anyone else. Put this on your Alexander the Great. You're going to have an amazing Earth March. Your Alexander the Great has his 50% from his passive, 50% from the active that's not passive, plus the 100%, plus the attack speed increase up to 75%, plus his attack speed of increase of 50%. Alexander the Great is going to be a monster. No one's going to be able to stop him. Now, the next skill, Overpower, is a passive. Every time you receive magical damage, reduce the magical damage you receive by 3%, up to 10% for 3 seconds. Receiving magical damage to refresh the timer, stackable up to 5 times. This would be a great skill for Caesar or Charles. They have low magic defense, so this would be at least able to keep them alive and sustain less magical damage. As well as if you're running assist, this would be able to at least stack it multiple times to be able to reduce up to 50% damage. Now, another immortal. After the battle starts, Deadeye it's a grace. After the battle starts, you have a 22.5 up to 75% chance to make your attack unavoidable by the enemy for 12 seconds. This is a decent skill. It is a purple. Me personally, I wouldn't suggest putting any ability stones or anything into it. I think there's other skills that you can save for or stack up and get rather than just killing yourself and emptying out your ability stones for this one. But it is a good skill for Alexander the Great, Peter. Your attacks can't be stopped. But other than that, I don't really think it's good as it only lasts for 12 seconds. Wind Protection is a triggered skill. Every 12 seconds after the battle starts, you have a 45% chance to gain wind protection for 12 seconds, increasing the dodge rate by 6 up to 20%. On Will Immortals only, every time you dodge an attack, you gain damage shield to absorb all incoming damage. Absorbing rate 30% up to 100%. So you can have it on an immortal that is not wind, but the shield will only go to the wind immortals, if I'm reading that correctly. This would be good for Quinn, giving more dodge to the team and giving us some sort of shield up to 100%. Yeah, I don't really play wind, so this would be, like I said, in my opinion, best for Quinn. Void Realm is a grace. After the battle starts, you have a 27% up to a 90% chance to reduce damage received by 75%, but reduce the damage dealt by 90% for 18 seconds. There's not many frontline immortals that don't deal damage. Charles would be the only one that comes to mind. You're reducing your damage, but if Charles doesn't really deal damage, that doesn't really matter. And you're reducing the damage up to 90%. reduced up to 75%. Excuse me. Um, this would be really great for Charles for the first 18 seconds of the match, to be able to not take any incoming damage. If you have assist going at 10 seconds or guard, that first assist for from 10 to 16 seconds, all that damage is going to be reduced up to 75%. Now, the next skill, Shatter. It's a passive. During the battle, your normal attacks have 10.5% chance up to 35% chance to disable enemy shields. At the top of my head, thinking about it, it doesn't have anything to do with damage. It's just about disabling, so it can go on anyone. Peter already dispels the two immortals in front of him, so I would suggest putting this on the immortal next to Peter, which would be Richard or El Cid. This will allow you to dispel 3 shields out of 4, and be able to stack having the enemy team not having to have their shield and stack the damage onto them without it being absorbed. Now, at 35% chance, you're running, let's just say, Speed Blessing. Your normal attacks, you don't have to deal much damage, but every time you do hit, then the immortal in front of them, like Richard, doesn't really do much damage, but he can dispel the shield of Charles or Alexander the Great. Now, next skill, Lightning Protection. We're talking about Lightning Immortals. Is a triggered skill. Every 12 seconds after the battle starts, you have a 45% chance to gain Lightning Protection for 12 seconds. Normal attacks you land will have a 10.5% chance, up to 35% chance to land a stun on the enemy for 30 seconds. Every time the enemy is stunned by your normal attacks, also increase the damage of your next ultimate skill by 30% for 6 seconds. Now, I think this would be great for anyone in Lightning March. It really does add more stun. If you're running an El Cid or, let's just say, another mortar outside of Richard, you're able to have some sort of CC and stun added to your Lightning March. Now, I really think people running El Cid, this is a great skill to add crowd control. And people who are running Richard, they're just having more stun. And more stun, can't go wrong with that. Now, next skill, Storm Eye, is a triggered. Every 6 seconds after the battle starts, you have a 55% chance to cause magic damage. Damage rate 75% up to 250 to 3 random enemy units. If the target is rooted, the damage is increased by 50%. Now, I would synergize this well with Fighting Will. So if you have Fighting Will on your march, pair this up. It's a great skill that you can replace a Nova with, or Heavenly Thunder. It gives a nice form of damage to 3 immortals, 250%, and can increase more damage when synergized with Root. Fear Domination. It's an aura. First time we see an aura. If the enemy's health is below 50%, they will receive 4.5 up to 15% more damage. This would be heavy for a fire march. Now, once the enemies are below 50%, usually fire marches expire out, but you're able to just kill them even quicker. You can also put it on an earth march, which is a long sustained march. So as the march, the battle takes place and it gets longer and longer, once you do get them down and grind them down to 50%, now you have a damage boost and you're able to finish them off even more quickly. Like I said, this skill, this aura, would be good on any march, but I would suggest putting on a fire or an earth march. Now, Demonic Contract, it is a passive, decreases your damage by 5 times 3 up to 10%, up to 30%. But every 3 seconds after the battle starts, you gain 3% up to 10%, increased damage maximum up to 15 times. This would be a great skill for Alex again. If you're running Berserker, plus Demonic Contract, plus the artifact already gives you 50% increase. So you're just getting that minus 30%. You're still up 20% damage than you would be with the artifact, up to 150% increased damage after 45 seconds. After 40, and Earth usually runs out the timer. So now your Earth March at 45 seconds, you do have that other 45 seconds of the match that you're running at 150% increased damage. That is insane. Like you're down 30 plus 150, you're getting a 120% boost at the end of it. Plus his already 50% passive plus 50% passive from the artifact, plus 100% from Berserker. You're just going to shred through the enemy with your normal attacks. Vigorous is a passive. During the battle, healings you receive are increased by 9% up to 30%. I would just put this on Frederick. If you're running Frederick, run it. Elizabeth, you could, but I think there's better skills that you can synergize well with Elizabeth. I would just put this for Frederick. His skill heals himself from the damage he deals. More healing. What can you go wrong? Earth Protection. It's a triggered skill, so you can't put it on Alex if you have the artifact. Every 12 seconds after the battle starts, you have a 45% chance to gain Earth Protection for 12 seconds. You have a 30% chance to remove a silent or root effects from yourself and obtain 200 energy. Earth Immortals only. Every 100 energy regenerated will increase the damage of your next ultimate skill by 9.9% up to 3%. Honestly, I think this would work well on a Rash. Why? Because you're able to remove a silencer or root. Your ultimate skill has a 3% more damage. And you're able to, like with Alex can't work. Charles has no damage on his skill. Cleo, I think there's better skills you could put on her. If you have a Leonidas, this would also work well in the Earth March. But if you're not having Leonidas and you have a Charles like most people do, then I would put this for Arash. If it's not for Arash, then put for Leonidas, but those would be the only two Immortals I see this working well with. You have Sirens Gaze. Every 12 seconds after the battle starts, you have a 22.5 up to 75% chance to taunt a random back row enemy unit for 6 seconds. Every time the skill is active, you will gain Siren Shell. Enemy who landed a normal attack on you will be silenced for 1 second. This is pretty self-explanatory. I would use this on an Immortal that doesn't really deal much damage in the front row. That would be like Richard, Caesar. Caesar would be a great one. Monko, this would be a good one. But again, I would save it for Immortals that don't really do much damage and for the front line. So another skill, Rock Solid, is a passive. When receiving critical hit damage, you have a 3% chance up to 10% to be immune to all critical hits in the next 6 seconds. I guess if you're in a wind march, this would be good to counter fire. But I wouldn't spend my money on this one. I think the other skills much better. If you're running out of skills to get and you're running wind, this might be good for you. But if outside of wind, I wouldn't put this on at all. Water Protection. It's a triggered skill. Every 12 seconds after the battle starts, you have a 45% chance to gain Water Protection for 12 seconds. Reduces the critical damage you take by 15% up to 50%. That's really big. And every time you receive a critical damage, you'll be healed 36% up to 120%. Now, that is big. If you have a Ditto in your march, you put Water Protection, you're stacked. You're good. You're fighting a water march with high crit. Doesn't really make a difference to you. You're fighting a fire march. Fire march is now is gone. So, my opinion, I think if you have a Ditto, this would be a great skill to put on Ditto. Weakness protection. Grace. After the battle starts, reduces the physical damage received by an allied unit with the lowest physical defense by 18%, and reduce the magical damage received by an allied unit with the lowest magical defense by 18% for 12 seconds, up to 60%. I think this would work well on a Theodora and a Holy March. This would work well on a Zenobia and Earth March. I think this would work well on any support character, but specifically those two because Caesar and Charles have low magical defense. So it would guarantee that this would go on to one front row immortal. Now, that being said, it's okay, the skill. If you're going to get it, it's a lot of skills that you can replace that'll do better for. I think on Caesar as well, not Caesar, Cyrus, this would do well for fire. But then again, like I said, I would just skip over the skill altogether. Victorious Pursuit is a passive. Every time you deal damage with the ultimate skill, increase the damage you deal by 1.5 up to 5% for 4 seconds, stackable up to 10 times. Hippolyta, period. With her new artifact, you can do Hell of Thunder up to 7 times. You're dealing your ultimate skill up to 7 times in one shot. That's right there. If you're at max 5%, 35%. Every time it's increased. So the first time it's 1.5. The second time the first one is 5% for the second one. The second one is 10% for the third one. Third one is etc., all the way up to 50%. The seventh one on Hippo is dealing 35% increased damage. That is insane. I would keep Victorious Pursuit for Hippolyta only. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's any other mortal that will benefit from more from this one. But yeah, Hippolyta all the way. Wind Rage. Every normal attack will have a 12% up to 40% chance to immediately trigger an additional normal attack. Barca. If you got Hannibal Barca, this is for you. If you have Alexander the Great with Berserker and Demonic Contract, this is also for you. More normal attacks, more damage. More damage? Dead and Frontline Immortal. I like Wind Rage a lot. I think for those high damage dealing immortals, you can't really go wrong on an extra normal attack. Peter as well, I think would do well. Intimidation is a passive. Every normal attack has 10% chance to cause intimidation, dealing physical damage up to 150% and applying the root effect for 6 seconds to 2 random enemies. Now, this would synergize well with, what was that skill? Where was it? Storm Eye. Root increases the damage by 50%. If you have Intimidation, every normal attack has a 10% chance to root 2 random enemies for 6 seconds. If you have Storm Eye, those enemies that are rooted plus Fighting Will, you're going to be able to benefit more in synergizing this well with that skill. Now we're at 50. Flame Protection is a triggered skill. Every 12 seconds after the battle starts, you have a 45% chance to gain fire protection for 12 seconds, increasing the critical hit rate by 4.5 up to 15%. For Fire Morals only, critical damage increases by up to 30% up to 100%. This is insane. Just great. I would put it on Cyrus. Leave it there. Now your crit rate is increased, plus your crit damage is increased. Like Cyrus, more crits you take, plus William, higher crit rate, you're allowing more stuns, more damage. Fire is able to burst down the enemy much faster and not get hit through stunning the other enemy. Now the last one, Armageddon. I don't care what anyone says. Best magic skill in the game. triggered skill. 50 seconds after the battle starts. Unleash a magical attack, damage rate 480%, up to 1,600% on all enemy units. You have an Earth March with Cleopatra, and it's sustaining and timing out the match a minute 30. At 50 seconds, you just dropped a nuclear bomb on the enemy team.